Hi, and welcome to New Year, New Voice 2025, Day 18. Today we're going to circle back to breathing because it's been a while since we talked about that. And I do want to share a tip that I think is very helpful when we're working on our repertoire and when we're just vocalizing. A lot of times we're taught to breathe through the mouth so that we can prepare the oral pharynx for singing. And while I think that there is a lot of wisdom in that, absolutely a lot of wisdom. So I'm not going to sit here and say don't breathe through your mouth, but I think that there are times in our development, times in our vocal journey, and also just times in the music when a good nose breath is a little bit more effective. And I'm going to tell you why so that you can sort of map this out yourself. A few days ago, we talked about the soft palate, and I was giving you the snorting exercise to help with the flexibility of the soft palate. And what I find happens a lot with a lot of singers is they are so mismapped with the soft palate. And I did speak to that before. And I think if you are having over darkening issues, if you're having tongue retraction, if you feel like you're hitting a ceiling at the top a lot, I would start to unknit that by trying nose breathing when you prepare for singing, because it's my experience in my own singing and in teaching hundreds of students over the last, I'm not going to say how many years, but I think some of you know that number. But it's been my experience that a lot of times we are creating inflexibility in our instrument by the way we're prepping the oral pharynx and all the vocal muscles for singing. So sometimes when we go to the nose breath, this can create more flexibility and kind of remap our old patterns. So when would I use a nose breath? Well, obviously rehabilitating singers that are stuck into like an over open position, that's necessary. You need that for a time. Obviously you can't do nose breathing when you're doing fast breaths in the middle of phrases. So that's kind of goes without saying. But nose breaths are very helpful for preparatory breaths so that you're breathing through the nose and then the opening is the last thing that happens after the breath has been taken. So it kind of remaps our awareness. And then you have to be careful that when you do open the mouth that you don't take in more air because you'll set up the vocal muscles differently again. So preparatory breaths, okay, or when you have a lot of time in the music or enough time, even two beats is enough. Something where it's not rushed, right? Where you have that time that can rehab a lot of these problems. And you may even notice that you like a nose breath before maybe a high onset if you have a tendency to kind of lock the palate and sort of push down. So these are good times to sort of check in. Basically, what I'm trying to say to you is if something's not working, check the breath, try a nose breath and see if it helps. A lot of this is trial and error, and we have to figure out what works for us in the time that we're doing it, and that does change over time, so get used to it. Change is inevitability, and we have to get used to that as singers. So I hope this tip helps you, and I will see you tomorrow.